It's Saturday morning. It's 9 o'clock. Yes, that could only mean one wonderful thing. It's time for the Monster Magic Saturday Show. Let's do this.
Wake up, it's a beautiful morning. Feel the sun shining for your eyes.
Woohoo! Oh, good morning, everybody. I hope you are well. It doesn't feel like it was a week ago now, does it? Time really does fly. And talking of time flying, it is actually my son Ziggy's birthday today. I can't believe where the years have gone. And it is very odd to think that my little boy is now actually a young man. But happy birthday, Ziggy, if you're watching, and I hope you have a lovely day, and I love you very much indeed. But now let's get on and do some magic reviews. And first up, we have Ultimate Vanishing Deck by James Anthony, or UVD if you want it to sound like a sexually transmitted disease. It is in fact a way of vanishing a deck of cards. The actual routine is that you have a card signed and lost in the deck in a traditional manner. You then say you're going to make their card vanish from the deck and appear in your back pocket. Actually, you show the whole deck of cards visually vanishes before their eyes, leaving just their signed card in your hand, and the rest of the deck is in your back pocket. Visually, this is a miracle. The whole idea of having the deck vanished has been done a lot before. Do check out Evaporate by Henry Ferris as well, Alakazam Magic for an alternative version. But I have to say, I am very impressed with this gimmick. I've been let down before with gimmicks claiming to do this, and I think James Anthony really has hit on something quite special. It let me show you. Well, I can't really show you too much because obviously it's a gimmick, and but here's what you get. But it is simply it comes in red. It is a red Riderback card, but you can actually change this card. You can put it onto any card from any deck that you like, so it is repeatable for friends and family, and you end up really nice and clean at the end. And the angles are much better than I was expecting as well, especially after the deck vanish. You basically sort of clean up in a very clean way, and you can show the card 360. You can hand the card out, they can keep the signed card afterwards. And the vanish can be done from several different angles. So traditionally you're usually holding it down, you'd be holding the deck in dealing grip, but you can actually hold it from the side as well and make it all vanish from that angle too. This is all taught by James in his studio. The tutorial is split into two actually, so you have a 15-minute short tutorial where he runs through the gimmick and how to prepare the gimmick, and then there's a much longer tutorial over an hour long where he really goes into all of the finer detail. But the short one, he can't help but start cramming in more information as he's talking, so it's almost sort of very much a condensed. There's not much missed out of the short one. Apart from the fact he teaches in the long one, he teaches how to make a slightly different version of the gimmick to practice with, and so on, which I'm guessing is one of the versions he had before he nailed this one, which is probably one as well, the ultimate. And this gimmick was surprisingly easy to get used to using. I'm not a great one for adding these sort of things into the deck. I'll come to that later. But there's a knack to it. There's a knack, but you can set it one-handed or two-handed if you wish. I'd go for the one-handed one. If you watch James perform it, he does it one-handed and it looks so slick. You wouldn't believe that it was the gimmick in show. And really that just takes 15 minutes or so, just playing around, fiddling. You can be watching TV, you can be on the bus, you can fiddle around, and you'll get pretty quick at setting this gimmick and then making it vanish again. In theory, it would be possible to have this gimmick in your deck prior to doing this particular effect and do other card tricks as you wish, but it's a little bit cumbersome. I would add it in when I'm about to do this trick. James covers a way or two of doing that And the nice thing is the shape of it lends itself to actually being a sort of automatic card controlling device. So it's almost like a thick card. So you've got freedom to spread and shuffle at will. When you're having the card selected and signed, there is a little bit of a restriction. So really they can only sign the face, and they can sort of only really sort of sign the bottom 2/3 of that face. So you sort of need to cover part of the card whilst they're signing it. But that's not a big deal and can appear quite natural in the course of the routine, especially since the card is about to get lost in the deck anyway. The one slight niggle is that you are going to need to pop down to your stationery office to buy something to help you do this, or to set it up even. James tells you exactly what you need to buy, and he tells you exactly how to use it as well, especially in the long tutorial. It goes into great detail about how to set this up. That's a sort of once a gig sort of setup, really. So once you can do it instantly again, it does reset instantly. You can go and do it multiple times in a night if you wish, but before you go out that night, you'll want to reset it up fresh just to make sure it's working how you want. And that making it work how you want is the knack. And there's a little bit of trial and error there. So you're gonna have to play really and just have some fun with it. Otherwise, if you don't do that, the cleanup can look pretty awkward and clumsy. The tutorial is also full of lots of tips and all the nuances that James has discovered as he's been working this. He had it at Blackpool, so he's probably done it 1,000 times there, even haven't done it all over the years that he's been perfecting this. Often with these sort of style of gimmicks, you want to make it look absolutely perfect in your hand, and when you're practicing, you're burning it away. But really, you don't draw too much attention to the fact that you're holding a deck of cards. Don't worry too much, just be relaxed. Don't necessarily think everything has to be pinpoint square, because when you're holding the deck of cards anyway, they can be slightly skew width, they can be slightly buckled. So it'll look natural if you are acting natural. And then you've just got to do the nice visual vanish, which is terrific. It is very slick, and what is nice is it does just go down to that one card very quickly. Being able to immediately show it from all angles that it is just one card and then reveal that it is their signed card is an amazing moment. James has really surprised me with this. I think he's thought of everything. It is precision made. Would I use it is the big question, and I'm not sure. I do Socrates or Socrates card to pocket all of the time, popularised by David Williamson in his book Williamson Wonders. And for me, I think sometimes my magic is more about a journey and the routine and comedy rather than a visual powerful moment necessarily. And obviously that routine requires no gimmicks whatsoever, and you can sort of do it spontaneously. So would I carry around a gimmick? Now I look at this gimmick and how easy it is to carry around. It can just be in the pocket, it can just be in the card case. Maybe I would. Maybe I would indeed. It is certainly durable enough to carry around. There's nothing really to worry about. James does actually talk about a couple of other routines, so you don't necessarily have to vanish the whole deck. You could leave yourself with the 4 aces, for example, if you wanted to go into a 4 ace routine. So it's versatile as well. It's a well thought out, well constructed gimmick that does allow you to very, very visually vanish a deck of cards. It is Ultimate Vanishing Deck by James Anthony, $31.99. Next up, we've got Aroma by Marcus Waldemar. This I was very skeptical of. If you think you guys worry about when you've got to buy just one a unit of this, whether it's going to be good and whether you're going to use it, think about the poor shop owner who has to plump for a lot of them, hoping it is as good as it looks and sounds. Fortunately, I think Illusionist and Marcus have smashed it with this. I can't show you what you get in the box, but even that, there was an element of my heart dropping when I saw what was in the box. But actually you get a nice little made gimmick which is perfect for what you need it to do, and you get an array of other things. And the trick is basically that you can create, remove, transfer smells. The main effect that Marcus does is he has a piece of paper and a pen, and he writes down a smell or an aroma, such as lime, perhaps. He then sniffs a piece of paper and says, oh, it now smells of lime. He crosses the lime out, and then he goes, it now smells of nothing. He then gets another piece of paper and asks the participant to name an aroma. Say they say apple. He'll then write down apple. The participant will smell it, and it will indeed smell of apple. He'll then cross out apple, and when the participant next smells it, it will smell of nothing. You can then hand the pen and paper to the participant, and they can write down another scent, say mint, and when they pick the piece of paper up and smell where they've written mint, it will indeed smell of mint. It is a simple, clear plot, devilishly clever. I was baffled. I had absolutely no idea. The first phase is a bit of a con, but the second and the third phase are absolutely brilliant. They can genuinely smell these aromas. And the third phase, where you hand them the piece of paper and a pen, believe me, these pieces of paper and pen, they can be borrowed. They write down mint, and then they pick that piece of paper up and they smell mint, is just genius. And it's playing with an invisible sense, which is almost more baffling than playing with a visual sense. Often, obviously, in magic, we are dealing with the visual. We are making things disappear, vanish, and reappear. Sometimes we use sound to help with that, to create the idea that something's still there when it's not, or a moment for it to vanish. But smells is rare, very, very rarely touched on. And because you're sort of doing it for your nose, and because often there's a thought process of trying to recognize and trying to place that smell, you know, that creates something more in your head. I think it's a much, much deeper experience. And also, smells are invisible and they just seem to be in the air. So being able to control them is just astonishing. It is a super powerful effect that you wouldn't believe. The actual teaching of that routine is a little bit over sort of 20 minutes. It's pretty short. There's not much to it really at all. It's surprisingly easy to do, and because the method is slightly different in each phase, it's impossible to track, and all of your actions and everything are motivated and justified. After Marcus has run through his routine with Yannick and explained it all in detail, Yannick asks some good questions that perhaps you might have been asking yourself, and you really get the impression that Marcus has worked this for years, and you can see why. It is addictive. It's very small, easy to carry around. You can do it at a moment's notice. If you can just borrow a pen and a piece of paper, I would carry this little gimmick around in my pocket, and you will have a lot of fun. And with a bit of imagination, you can really freak some people out. But after that, you have a sort of brainstorming session with Gent Clark of Illusionist, where he runs through some of his ideas and actually gets Marcus to reveal a few of his little secret pet routines. So you've got a version of a sort of voodoo ashes idea. You've got ways of maybe perhaps instantly stooging someone, PK touch ideas, and ways of having someone think of an object, a fruit, or whatever it might be, and that object actually appearing. After that, you then have Marcus sitting down with Peter Turner, who obviously turns it into a mentalism course. What is very nice is on here you do get a clip of Marcus performing it on Peter for the first time, and you can see just how freaked out and baffled Peter is. He actually fools himself perfectly at the end. So he runs through things like equivocate, center tears, some nice ways of getting perhaps a whole audience involved as well, and so increasing the power of the mentalism side of the effect. He also has some good ideas on the choreography as well if you want to change how Marcus does it. And they briefly also touch on how to use the smells to identify objects, as it were, which is something that I believe Vincent Hedden touched on in his Penguin Magic Live lecture. None of the ideas in these brainstorm sessions are actually taught. They're not fully fledged routines, they are simply ideas. And I think once you get hold of this, you will be coming up with a whole stream of ideas as well. You will be rushing out to perform this, I think. The gimmick does take a bit of a setup, but Marcus runs through all of that. It doesn't take long at all, and you get everything you need in here. You get the ability to produce 5 scents. You can customize those scents later on if you wish, once you know what the secret is, and you get the gimmick as well. The reset is just a minute or two. It is so much fun. It is novel. It is powerful magic that just seems to happen somehow in their imagination. This is Aroma by Marcus Waldemar, 23.99. And next up, it is the turn of Simon Lipkin with Simon Says. I've been looking forward to this for quite a while because I do actually know Simon Lipkin. He is a great guy, and he's mentioned this before. And actually, if you want to know how long this has been in the works, if you look at the trailer and look at Simon now, you can see that a few years have passed. They have been very kind to him, I will say that, but I do know him, so do bear that in mind when I'm talking about this. But I do know how much Simon thinks about his magic, and that he decided this for his own personal use before releasing it, and he still uses it today. And it is actually a deck of cards, but not a deck of cards. It's a deck of cards, but instead of having playing cards on, it's got celebrities' names. Nicolas Cage, Scarlett Johansson, and you can see that they are part of a game, the Fame Name game. And the idea is that you have the celebrity, you choose a card, you have to try and describe that celebrity to your friends without using any of the banned words on the card. And so you've got 30 seconds to do it, or you've got a minute to see how many you can do. It's a genuine game that you can actually play, and the routine actually starts with you playing the game with your audience before they then freely select a card, and you divine who it is with just a few simple questions. And then the third phase is a prediction phase where you use their phone and Google. They then choose a card and to look at their phone, and there is the picture of the celebrity that they've just chosen on the phone. It's a lovely free phase routine that doesn't feel like a card trick. The big secret is that these cards are marked and in a stack, and the marking system is terrific. Because these cards are in a stack as well, not only will it tell you what this card is, I can also tell you what the preceding card is and what the following card is as well. And that is really useful, especially with markings where you don't necessarily want to be burning the back of the card that they've chosen. You can glance away, you can look down at the table or whatever, and still divine their card. So it's a much sneakier way of peeking the information that you need, and they are pretty clear. Certainly to know the following and the preceding ones, which is the most common probably route you're going to be taking with this, then I don't actually need my glasses. If I want to actually divine the person on the back of this card from the back of the card, I do need my glasses, but they are reader decks. Familiarize yourself with the personalities, that will help as well, but that's only going to take you 5 or 10 minutes. They're pretty obvious, most of them. There was someone that I didn't know, but I can't remember who it is now. But you've got a great mix of people. You've got Emily Blunt, Muhammad Ali, Amy Winehouse, Brad Pitt, obviously. Brad Pitt always crops up, doesn't he? David Bowie, Billie Eilish, you see, Ariana Grande. So there's a very good mix. Charlie Chaplin, Elvis Presley, James Corden. Can't remember who it was that I didn't know now. Serena Williams, Ben Stiller. Demi Lovato. I didn't know who Demi Lovato was. So a really good mix of famous people from music, film and sport, basically. Simon teaches the routine really, really well, and he slips in a little bit of his philosophy of magic and mentalism, and not handling this deck like it's a deck of cards, but like it is a pack of gaming cards, which is, again, as I said, Simon does think a lot about this, and there are some nice moments where he sort of wants to knock a sort of popular mentalism plot, but then sort of pulls back a little bit, which is quite funny. So these cards can be cut, and Simon teaches how he handles the cards. They are beautifully printed on really good cardstock, so you could do some flash stuff with these. Simon encourages you not to, because this isn't the point where you want to show that you can make them pick what they want or you can do clever stuff. This is simply a deck of gaming cards. And so the sleights and the moves are dead easy. What you need to do is to have fun with this. So the big deal is that instead of playing cards, instead of divining the 9 of diamonds, you're divining Angelina Jolie, for example, and that adds something to the trick. Someone can have a feeling about that person, they can watch the films about that person, and there's a lot of enjoyment to be had, especially with the second phase where you ask the questions to divine the person. You don't want to ask too many questions, obviously, because you're narrowing it down, so you really only want sort of 3 questions. And Simon hints at using the rule of 3, which is basically ask the first 2 questions should be sort of genuine. He likes to miss the first one, maybe hit the second one, and then the third one is a bit of a rug pull, a bit off the wall. So it's called the rule of 3 in comedy, because you need the first 2 to set the pattern, and then the third one to break that pattern in for great comic effect. The final phase uses the phone. That is nice because there is a chance that you can predict 2 celebrities at once with this method, which is a great idea. And also it kind of ups it from being a divination to a prediction. I think it's just a great multi-phased routine that packs a punch. He does talk about some other routines as well. There's a truth or lie one, which I also really like. Simon's very good at building a connection with people, and the truth and lie one is a way that will help you do that as well. It does sort of feel that you've got something going on there with the person. And he also teaches a routine that has 3 people select cards that you've previously predicted, which uses the 1 head principle. Really clever. And he also teaches a little banner check subtlety on that, so you can have the predictions signed as well, so that they know that they line up with each person. Very clever, very smart. And in this section, Simon actually teaches Ralph W. Hull's slop shuffle, should you want to appear that you're nonchalantly mixing the cards throughout. And then you have Simon's final thoughts about this deck, and the idea that you've got all these celebrities in this deck. If you've got any tricks that require having a celebrities, whether it be perhaps Lolly Hero or 20th Century Phantom, then this deck can be used for those as well. And he just encourages you to use your imagination. To be honest, I reckon Simon probably could have added 2 or 3 more routines into this project if he wanted to, at the drop of a hat. But what he has done is narrowed it down to 4 super good, strong routines that are going to be hard to beat. It is a really simple idea, really well executed, with some really easy to do yet strong mentalism magic. It's engaging and it's a joy to perform. That is Simon Says by Simon Lipkin, $24.99. Next up, we've got Magnetic Coins by Michael Rubinstein. This is based on his 1983 effect called Magnetic Coins. Gimmick's slightly different, and the method and the handling are slightly different. It is an effect where you show that you've got 2 half dollars, and that if you rub them on your sleeves, they magnetize and stick together. You then rub them really hard, stick them together, and they become fused permanently together. You then use a lighter to sort of melt them apart, and then they can be handed out. What you get in here is the gimmicks, but you also get the two $half as well. So you're good to go right from the start. The gimmick is much what you'd expect. I think I could probably show you that. And the $half, and they match perfectly. They're really nice. They're very, very shiny. Now, Michael is obviously a top coin worker, but this trick is surprisingly simple to do. You get two different teachings. I'll come to that in a minute. The actual magnetizing bit is a lot of fun, and that is very easy, and you can do that with any coins that you want. And in fact, if you look up Schuit-Ogawa's laws of attraction, that is just wonderful. Schuit does the whole magnetizing things with forks and cutlery and salt cellars, as well as coins, keys, just about anything. And once you've got the technique, it is a lot of fun to mess about with. Probably just take you a couple of minutes in front of the mirror to master the magnetizing bit. And then the handling is pretty simple, but there are some more sort of intermediate slights thrown in. So you have the JW grip by Jimmy Wilson back in 1980s, I believe, popularized much later, but he was the first person to do it, and that isn't as hard to get into as it looks, and it is a very clean way of showing your hands empty whilst you're holding the gimmick. And then there's a little bit where you do the Kanyo bottle finger muscle pass, which sounds much harder than it is. It's almost harder to say than it is to do. So don't be put off by those two sleights. I'm calling them intermediate. They just take a bit of practice. And this isn't the sort of coin trick where you're being chased. It's not necessarily trying to look like any other action, and the JW grip is just a way of hiding a coin. But if you are put off by those two moves, Michael does include his lecture from the New York Coin Symposium, volume 10, and that is much easier and has a much easier cleanup, but just lacks some of the openness of the more modern routine. I really like the quirkiness of the magnetizing. I like the whole sort of fake lip pull of the whole rubbing makes them static and stick together. I think it's just a fun plot and presentation that is very entertaining, and it's sort of slightly different to always having coins vanish and reappear. It's a nice novel coin routine that isn't difficult to do. You can justify the American $half by just pointing out that they've got a certain amount of nickel in them or whatever it might be that leads them to be magnetic. So it can work in any country that you like. Michael's teaching of both methods is super clear. So I think even if you've got no experience with coins, he will get you up and running with this super little simple coin effect. That is Magnetic Coins by Michael Rubinstein.
I wouldn't believe it if I hadn't watched it. Believe what? I don't know. I wasn't watching.
And that's it for this week. I'm afraid I have just realised I've forgotten to do the draw for the winner of the Infinity deck. I will add that in later. But until then, please go on, grab some magic, go out there and have some fun with the best hobby in the world. Bye-bye.